It was 1967 and Swamiji was still in Vancouver, Canada. He got the news of the passing away of his guru, his beloved master who had given him this amazing knowledge of yoga, Swami Kanakananda Bhrigu Guru Maharaj. Swamiji had spent many years in the West Indies, in Trinidad, in South America and other parts of the world, but decided to leave Vancouver, come back to India and serve our beloved Bharat Desh. He had at that time received an invitation from someone. We are going to have a huge hospital and we need someone to come back to set up this hospital and run it. And so, yes, Swamiji said this is a good opportunity to come to Pondicherry. Pondicherry, known as Puducherry or Vedapuri, the city of the Siddhas, hence also called Siddha Bhumi. It drew Swamiji here, and he came only to find out that there was no such hospital plan at all. And he realized, I'm in Pondicherry, I don't want to be part of a scam that somebody is doing in the name of getting millions of dollars in foreign aid for a project that will never happen. And so he started roaming around Pondicherry and came upon the beautiful sacred premises of Sri Kambli Swami Madam. He met the Guru at that time, Srila Sri Shankaragiri Swamigal, who immediately took to him, and they both realized their connection was more than just this lifetime. Swamiji in 1968 officially began Ananda Ashram. Initially it was at Vajudava Road, then he had one opposite the Jiva Rukmini theatre, today it's the theatre, and he had an ashram there, finally settling down at Lospet in a building that today is the National Archives, very close to the Clooney School. In fact, the NCC building opposite Clooney School used to be where the students stayed. So yes, 1967-68, Swamiji came back and he realized the pull of Sri Kambli Swami Madam had brought him here. Once the ashram began, students started to join the course, the 6-month teachers training course. People like Yogi Raj Rajudev, Eric Donikoff from New Zealand, and of course our own beloved Ammaji. And through that training, the students started to understand this magnificent science. Today we call it Rishiculture Ashtanga Yoga or Rishiculture Yoga, and in tribute of Swamiji who codified it, Gitananda Yoga. Swamiji and Shankaragiri developed this beautiful relationship, a relationship that was a long connection of two beautiful Atmas. And so Swamiji used to frequently visit Sri Kambli Swami Madam while he was in Lospet. So in Lospet, just a couple of kilometers of a walk through the cashew groves in those days. Today it is filled with houses and housing plots every place. Swamiji would come to the Kambli Swami Madam, sit with Sri Shankaragiri Swamigal, have deep discussions of the Siddha Yoga lineage of Kambli Swami. Now Kambli Swami left the body 150 years ago. So we are talking of something which was 55 years ago. So when you add it, you realize 95 years of Kambli Swami's tradition had been going on when Swamiji came in contact with it. And this tradition had the Siddha Vaidya, the Siddha Yoga, the Saiva Siddhanta tradition of South India that traces its lineage all the way back to the great Maharishi Agastya himself. Because tradition tells us Agastya came from the north, passed through the Vindyalayas, and came and settled in Pondicherry with his beautiful wife Lopamudra, a Rishi Patni. So we have the Rishi Agastya, Rishi Patni, Lopamudra. Swamiji had this interaction with Shankaragiri Swamigal, would participate in all the Guru Pujas, the numerous events that were going on, the Amavasya, the Paurnami, the Shashti, all of these events. And during one of the Guru Pujas, Shankaragiri Swamigal fell ill. And he asked Swamiji at that time, "Can you please continue the puja for me?" This would have been around 1971 72, that period. And after that, Swamiji started to become more and more associated with the ritualistic aspect of Kamble Swami Madam, finally becoming the official Madhadapati in 1975, where Srila Sri Shankaragiri Swamigal anointed Swamiji as the official Madhadapati. Shankaragiri Swamigal also was in charge of a sister concern, a sister madam, Sri Rangaya Madam, in Melavanjur, which is near Karaikal, about 4.5 hours, in those days, 5.5 hours from here. So he said, "Swamiji, I will go there and take care of Rangaya Madam. You take care of Kamble Swami Madam." At that time, Kamble Swami Madam was basically a forest with a few thatched huts for the Swamijis, a semi-permanent building in which the visiting Swamis would stay for a short while, and the main samadhi of Kamble Swami himself. Swamiji developed the Kamble Swami Madam into a structure that became known as the Shanti Niketan of South India. We know that Rabindranath Tagore, the Nobel laureate, created Shanti Niketan in West Bengal, in those days undivided Bengal, of course. Swamiji created a place that became an architectural example of what a modern Gurukula can be, where nature and human existence could coexist in harmony. There would be animals running around, birds flying around, people having their yoga sessions, Swamiji lecturing, a beautiful swimming pool with water surrounding the Shiva Shakti statue, a magnificent splendor on earth. Many called it a heaven on earth. At that time, Ammaji was with Swamiji. I was born in 1972, so I remember as a very young toddler walking behind Swamiji or with him and Ammaji from Lospet to Kamble Swami Madam, and seeing all these statues being created. All of them were created there, chiseled away, built with ceramic, cement work done, and seeing the structure come up. At that time, Swamiji and Ammaji, though they were teaching hundreds of people from all over the world, they felt that the local population in Pondicherry was not receiving their birthright, the birthright which is the education in yoga. Yoga is the greatest treasure of our Indian culture. And yet so many of these young people, especially of the socially backward, the downtrodden, people who are on the fringe of society, were not being given this education. And so Swamiji and Ammaji in 1975 created the Sri Kamble Swami Yoga and Fine Arts program, where every Sunday thousands of kids from all over Pondicherry, from the top IAS officer and IPS officers' kids to the local rickshawalas' kids, to kids whose fathers didn't exist, to kids who couldn't in those days even enter a temple, to kids who were kept away from education by the prevailing society norms in those days. Everyone was treated equal. Everyone was given an opportunity to learn this great science of yoga, a science of transformation and transcendence. Ammaji, though she had come all the way from the USA, born in Minnesota, Minneapolis, middle of Midwest USA, hardcore USA, she had traveled across the world. In Greece, had come to see a small book on yoga, ended up coming to Pondicherry and being part of Swamiji's teacher's training. But along the way, Amma, who definitely in her past incarnation was Indian, there's no doubt about it at all, she said there's this beautiful art form called Bharatanatyam. There is this beautiful music called Karnataka Sangeetam. And so she said, I want to learn it. So she took up the study of Natyam with Adiyar K. Lakshman in Chennai. Because at that time in Pondicherry, there was no dance teacher. So she said, okay, who's the best guy in town, well, the closest town or city is Chennai, and Adiyar Lakshmanan, one of those doyens of Natyam, a direct disciple, a favorite disciple of Rukmani Devi Arundel, the one who had transformed the landscape of Natyam during her time, influenced by the Theosophical Society and Ani Besant, had created Kalakshetra from where had come Adiyar K. Lakshman. Amma started training with him. She would go for a few days every month to Chennai, spend 8 hours, 10 hours with Sir, learning each and every adav, each and every aspect of the abhinaya, each and every composition, those dynamic compositions that Sir would create. And she would come back to Pondicherry, and on Sunday, she would start teaching the kids. She didn't wait to be a finished product before starting to teach. As she learned, she taught the young kids. And hundreds of young girls from the slums, from the nearby huts, from the Jipmer quarters, daughters of the doctors, daughters of the nurses, doctors of the cleaning staff, doctors of the police staff from the police quarters, all these kids would come and Ammaji would teach them Bharatanatyam. We had Manikandan sir who would teach the Carnatic music, the bhajans, and all these thousands of kids started to imbibe this great culture of Bharatiya Sanskriti, our Indian traditional culture of yoga, Natyam, and Sangeetam. And they all came together to create that seed of what today we look back 55 years of a cultural revolution. As a young child, I grew up with thousands of brothers and sisters. Because Ammaji and Swamiji felt as a single child, I needed some company. And so not one or two, but hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. The children would come on Sundays to Kamli Swami Madam, and they would attend the morning puja, where the beautiful Shivalingam puja or the Spatika Lingam would happen with bhajans and music and, beautiful fanfare. They would then start the yoga class, and there would be like dozens of sections. Initially, Amma was teaching, and then her students became assistant teachers, and we started to have dozens of groups of 50, 100 scattered all around the premises of the madam, one on the roof, one behind the samadhi, one under the tree, one on the mandala, and all these classes would be going on. And Amma developed this beautiful play yoga methodology of teaching, because young children need to learn in a play manner. And today we talk about it as Montessori, we talk about it as so many educational paradigms and pedagogy. She already was doing that. She said, I have to make it fun for them. They have to enjoy it. They have to make noise. So she developed this beautiful system where a lot of noise, a lot of fun, a lot of frolic is there in the scheme of the yoga. But both Swamiji and Ammaji realized, while yoga can develop the human personality in multiple dimensions, especially as an emotional catharsis for the young people, an outlet for the suppressed, repressed emotions of the teenagers, they needed the dance. And that is where Bharatanatyam, along with its physical movements that really give you a wholesome, holistic workout from within, a work in and a workout, give you an expression for your emotions. And the young children learn to express love, compassion, anger, fear, disgust. All the navarasas are brought into it, and it cleanses the whole emotional makeup of the young children. So the yoga giving one component of the personality, the Natyam giving another refinement of the personality. You develop aesthetics in Natyam that even in yoga you may not develop. Because in yoga we often are limited to ourselves. But in Natyam, because you perform, you have to sense your audience. You have to interact with others. So the interpersonal relationship development of Natyam, along with the intrapersonal relationship development of yoga, creates this holistic personality, a Purna Purusha. And along with that, the music, to develop that sense of layam, sense of nadam, sense of bhakti, and a connection to something bigger than us. In yoga, we call it Ishvara Pranidhana. In Vedanta, it would be called Bhakti. It is definitely brought in by the music. So Swamiji was not trained in music or dance. He used to sing amazingly. He had an amazing voice. But he supported Ammaji in her studies. So you can imagine here he is taking care of the ashram, building the ashram, running the ashram, teaching classes, making food. He used to be an amazing cook and all this. Simultaneously, Amma learning the dance and sharing, and Manikannan sir, Puduvai Manikannan, who used to come in and teach the bhajans to everyone. So you had the bhajans, you had the Carnatic music starting with Sarigama Padanisa up to the Kirtanas. You had on the other side the yoga going on, the dance classes all over, and along with that, the children would get time to swim in the swimming pool. Hundreds of them learned how to swim, a life saving skill for sure, in the swimming pool. Such fun they would have. And to top it all, in the middle of the day, a grand lunch. Long before the government of Puducherry and Tamil Nadu thought about the midday, noonday meal scheme in schools, Swamiji and Ammaji fed thousands and thousands of people, and a full lunch, not just a packet of some mixed rice, but a full lunch, what we call vada payasam and appalam and all of that. Everyone got it. And many of the kids, that was the only best full meal they would get the whole week, because the families didn't have money. And schools at that time didn't have this noonday or morning scheme. So that food attracted a lot of people. Many people came just for the food and so learned the yoga, dance, and music. Many of them came just for the swimming. They learned the dance, yoga, and music. Many of them came because we had all those beautiful animals, deer, monkeys, geese. So they would come to see it. It was a mini zoo. I often think Life of Pi, they talk about a zoo. I think it was the zoo at Kabliswami Madam that gave the inspiration. So this holistic development where they got food, because if you are hungry, you cannot learn. So food was given to satisfy hunger, and knowledge was given to satisfy the hunger for knowledge and wisdom. Life skills were given, relationship skills were given, competencies were developed. Kids who couldn't communicate learned to communicate. And today, because of that, thousands of them are around the world teaching. They may or may not still be in yoga, but they're at least good human beings. They may not be performing, in dance sabhas, but they still are good human beings. And they have taken this forward to serve society. When we think of Swamiji and Ammaji's cultural revolution, social revolution in Pondicherry, one of the questions that come is, how did they fund it? Where did the money come from? Well, it is very astonishing because all the programs for Pondicherrians were completely free. Free yoga, free dance, free music. Along with that, free food. And along with that, for 100 or 200 kids who had regular attendance, Swamiji would also give them school uniforms. He would buy school books, pencil boxes. Amma would go and select beautiful pencil boxes, geometrical boxes, school uniforms. Some of them who were very good got cycles also, long before Tamil Nadu gave cycles to school kids. All of this was there. So a kid who couldn't pay school fees, his fees were taken care. A kid who didn't have clothes was given clothes. And they started giving these clothes. Christmas would be a great time, and we would have an annual festival, and all the kids would be at Kamliswami Puja given all of these goodies, like Santa Claus coming to town, sort of. Swamiji was Santa Claus in many ways. But then the question comes, where did the money come from? Well, Swamiji, as would be expected, didn't want to take from Pondicherrians. He said, I will only give, because Pondicherry has given me the connection to Kamliswami. It has given me the connection back to Mother India. So the students who came for the 6-month course, they started off giving dakshina. And because many of the students came from different countries, because of the foreign exchange, of course, having more value in our country, he would have some money come in. He started publishing books. People started buying the books. He ran the correspondence course, Yoga Step by Step, which now is online. People paid for that. So people from other countries who paid for the courses, paid for the books, helped subsidize this. And this is where Swamiji never spent any money on himself. He had a couple of dhotis, a couple of kurtas, he had one watch, and often would walk around with not a single paisa in his pocket. But Swamiji was blessed with what we call a riddhi. So we talk of siddhis and riddhis. Siddhis are the psychic accomplishments that yoga talks about, Attama Siddhi, Ashtamaha Siddhis. Swamiji had the riddhi, which is a psychic prosperity. And I remember as a kid growing up, and Swamiji will say, Meena, we are going to do this. And Ammaji would say, Swamiji, you know there's no money in the bank. And often the bank balance would be zero, 100 rupees or something. And he would have this grandiose plan. And he'll say it will happen. And say, right at that time, somebody would say, Swamiji, I want to buy 100 copies of your book. Swamiji, we are coming on tour for, a month with 20 of my students. Can you teach us in the ashram? Something would happen and money would flow. And this I learned from him and continues till this date. If your goal, if your intent, if your purpose is noble, is pure, the universe will provide for it. And Swamiji had so much of this. Ammaji would say, what if it doesn't come? What if the money doesn't come for this project? And he'll say, then the universe doesn't want it to happen. What a beautiful way to understand that you are not the one giving. Ammaji never felt they were giving. They were the tools for the universe to provide for others. And they never held on. That is what Swamiji showed me. He said, by holding on, you limit yourself. By opening up and giving, you become the conduit for the flow. And that is how abundance manifests in one's life. Of course, Swamiji had a pension because World War II days, some pensions were there. He had some savings that he had accumulated in his life abroad, but those were minuscule. And when Swamiji liked to joke about this with people who said, where do you get your money? He said, I save the money on shaving razors. I don't have to shave. Because I don't shave, I save that money, and that money I use for this project. He had an amazing sense of humor, he and Amma. So they showed me that when your intent is pure, when you want to help others for the sake of helping, not for your ego to say, look at me, I helped you. That was never part of it. And automatically, nature, the universe provided. And how many people benefited? Wow. Thousands, thousands, thousands. "1986, Kamli Swami Madam gets taken over. No place to go. So, stayed a few weeks in Jipma while Swamiji was recovering. And then a student said, well, there's a house in town in Rainbow Nagar that maybe we can rent out. And so for a few years, till 1989, we had that space in Rainbow Nagar, a 3-floor house where one floor was Swamiji, another floor were the students, and the roof was the classroom. And Swamiji and Amma continued the 6-month course. That which started in 1968, 1986, when the Madam was taken over in August, that year in October, Rainbow Nagar, the course continued. Swamiji and Amma did not give up. Then, during this time, you have no place, you have rented a house, and then they said, let us try to find another place. And ICYR, Chinnamula Chavadi, on the Bay of the Bengal, a Frenchman, through a third-party student acquaintance, said, I have a place, I'm going to sell it anyway, I'm going back to France, do you want to get it? And so it happened that in 1987, this land, which is today ICYR in Chinnamula Chavadi, was taken by Swamiji, and from 1988 onwards, October 2nd, 1988, the 6-month course started to be conducted at Chinnamula Chavadi. And right away, in 1989, the 3rd decennial convocation of Vishwa Yoga Samaj, with hundreds of eminent yogis from all over the world converging on Pondicherry, where for the first time ever in 1989, the first international Yogasana championship occurred, guided by Swamiji, one of those leading lights of what today is called Yogasana sport. Building up ICYR, continuing the 6 month course, and then in 1993, there was this desire because many of the kids who had benefited at Kamli Swami Madam, they were like, what do we do now? Where do we go for yoga? Where do we go for dance? So for some time in ICYR, we had classes going on Sundays. Students would come, but ICYR, it's so far out. It's like another town away from Pondicherry. Today, we are just in the center basically. It's grown that way. So people had that difficulty. They said, can't you have a center in town? And so on March 27th, 1993, we are celebrating 30 years of it now. 30 years ago, Swamiji and Ammaji founded Yoganjali Natyalayam in Ayana Nagar, right behind the bus stand. They said, you want in the center of town, right behind the bus stand we started. And since then, Yoganjali Natyalayam, growing with 40,000 alumni, I would say today when we look back. How many thousands of kids benefited from the yoga, the dance, the music, creating again a new revolution. Because at this point, Swamiji and Ammaji realized if you give everything free, maybe people may not value it. And so they started to say, okay, start to pay 75 rupees for 3 months of yoga, 75 rupees for 3 months of dance, every Friday, Saturday. And they started this. And people started to value it more. Ironically, people who got it free at Kamli Swami Madam, the value they put, and the people at Yoganjali who paid that 75 for 3 months, there was a big difference in how they valued it. It is a weird part of human personality that when we pay, we think something is more valuable than when we get it free. Every year, they started to have annual days. Now, of course, 1993, December 29, Swamiji leaves the body. I have joined medical school in Varda, Nagpur University. Amma's on her own with Renukaka. Renukaka, that amazing energy, Renuka Giri. And they continued Yoganjali Natyalayam. I remember the first anniversary, we had Dr. B. Ramamurthy come down to give a talk, and we premiered at that time Karika Lammayar, one of those dance dramas. It had actually been done. The Kannappa Nayanar had been done even when Swamiji was alive in ICYR, but in a very simplistic way where we just sang the Om Namah Shivaya for the whole dance drama. A very meditative experience. Karika Lammayar was the first one where a full-fledged dance drama with new lyrics, new music, new composition started. And today, 50 dance dramas later, small, big dance dramas. Wow, what a legacy Ammaji created. This is totally Ammaji. Yoganjali Natyalayam legacy is pure Ammaji. And she worked so much that the yoga festival started by the government of Pondicherry in 1993, thanks to Swamiji and Ammaji. And the government asked Swamiji and Ammaji through the tourism department the first festival. So the festivals going on, annual days going on, dance dramas going on, cultural teachings going on, ICYR 6-month course going on. Wow. And of course in 1998, 99, I finished my medical training, came back to Jipma for my internship, and then became once again the regular part of the Yoganjali family. I had been part of it before, but it was more during holidays. And then, of course, took my share of responsibility on my shoulder. And well, today, institution has to be carried much more on my shoulders. But such a history where Yoganjali Natyalayam, ICYR, continued in an even grander way. But good will triumph. Satyameva Jayate is what our Indian motto is. So what we learn is that go with the flow. Go with the flow of nature. Realize the challenges are there. The obstacles are there to make you a better version. And I would say that through Yoganjali Natyalayam, through ICYR, the work of Swamiji and Ammaji got refined into what we have today as a codified system where the dance dramas are known as what would be the highest standard. The annual days are known to be festivals of joy, fun, frolic, and culture. The yoga courses are known to have the highest standards. The 6-month teacher training course, when the graduates go out, they go out with the most comprehensive knowledge of yoga, with thousands of hours of training. Today, people learn for 200 hours a teacher training course. They get about 3,000 hours of training in the 6 months when you look at it. That type of impact has happened today only because Swamiji and Ammaji never gave up. Because they said, we are here to fulfill our dharma. Come what may, dharma is supreme and we will fulfill it. Swamiji has given us many definitions for yoga. Yoga is a way of life. Yoga is skill in action from the Bhagavad Gita. Yoga is stilling the whirlpools of the subconscious, unconscious mind. But one which he stressed a lot was yoga is about conscious evolution. It is where the human being evolves from a subhuman to a human, becomes a humane being, and ultimately realizes their own divine potential. The Vedas teach us Aham Brahmasmi. When we are born as a human, the goal of human life is to realize Aham Brahmasmi, to realize our divinity. And yoga, according to Maharishi Patanjali, it only exists for us to attain Kaivalya, final liberation. Yoganga Anushtanat Ashuddhik Shaye Jnana Diptir Aviveka Kyati. Developing that highest discernment so that you know what is real, what is not real. And you transcend all the dukkha, as Gautama Buddha tells us all is suffering. Patanjali also says, well, that suffering is there, but you have to transcend it. Swamiji's goal was to enable everyone who came into his presence to become a better version of themselves. In fact, Ammaji used to tell us, even if somebody comes for one day to the ashram, they should leave a better person than when they entered the ashram. Even if somebody is just delivering, your post to the ashram, that postman should become a better version of himself by his association with the ashram. So it is not just the students who signed up for the 6 month, not only the students who came to Yoganjali, but those students, the parents should become better version of themselves. Through them, the society should become a better version of itself. So here we see that the transformation of the individual and the emphasis on the yama niyama as enabling us to restrain the subhuman tendencies of violence, untruth, wastage of creative energy, moving into those human and humane qualities which have compassion, purity, clarity, discipline, and ability of acceptance, which is Ishvara Pranidhana. And then developing the body, developing all its mechanisms through asana, working on the autonomic nervous system and bringing down the emotional turmoil into emotional stability, what today we call emotional resilience, through pranayama, developing the capacity to introspect and go in through pratyahara, and to move from being a slave to the senses to becoming a master of the senses, moving from enslavement by the senses to self-empowerment, where you can choose what you want to respond to and you are not caught in the vicious reactionary behavior. And then focusing the mind, that dharana, attaining that state where you are doing but you are not the doer anymore. That state of dhyanam, where you are performing but you are not there. You are singing but you are not there. You are dancing, you are not there. You are teaching, you are not there. That beautiful state of dhyanam that absorbs you completely into whatever you are. That was Swamiji's message. That you make sure your body is healthy, your emotions are healthy, your thoughts are healthy, your relationships are healthy, and that ultimately the whole of society becomes a healthy society. Because ultimately to be born human is an opportunity for self-realization. That was Swamiji's message. Everyone was given a chance to become a better version. Maybe it was 1 millimeter better than where they were. Maybe it was 1 centimeter, maybe 1 meter, maybe 1 kilometer. And I think personally many lived many, many lifetimes in one lifetime by that type of transcendence and transformation of yoga. Because you can burn numerous generations of karma by fulfilling your dharma. So Swamiji's message was fulfill your dharma, eradicate karma, and attain realization of the self, Kaivalya.
We are waiting for the sun to come on the gold Ganesha. Ganapatiye Varuvai, Ganapatiye Varuvai, Ananda, Ganapatiye Varuvai, Ananda, Ganapatiye Varuvai, Manamoli Meyale, Dinamunai Tudika, Mangalai Kayandan, Navil Tudike, Manamoli Meyale, Dinamunai Tudika, Mangalai Kayandan, Navil Tudike, Ganapatiye Varuvai, Ananda, Ganapatiye Varuvai, Ananda, Ganapatiye Varuvai, Ganapatiye Varuvai, Ananda, Ganapatiye Varuvai, Ananda, Ganapatiye Varuvai, Manamoli Meyale, Dinamunai Tudika, Mangalai Kayandan, Navil Tudike, Manamoli Meyale, Dinamunai Tudika, Mangalai Kayandan, Navil Tudike, Ganapatiye Varuvai, Ananda, Ganapatiye Varuvai, Ananda, Ganapatiye Varuvai. ஏழு ஸ்வரங்களில் காணிசை பாட, ஏழு ஸ்வரங்களில் காணிசை பாட, எங்குமே இன்பம் புத்தியே ஓட, எங்குமே இன்பம் புத்தியே ஓட, தாழமும் பாவமும் தகுமி போதாட, தாழமும் பாவமும் தகுமி போதாட, தரணியில்லாரும் புரண்டு கொண்டாட, தரணியில்லாரும் புரண்டு கொண்டாட, கணபதியே வருவாய், ஆனந்த கணபதியே வருவாய், ஆனந்த கணபதியே வருவாய். புதிய துதிகை வாழ்வுகள் அளிக்க, புதிய துதிகை வாழ்வுகள் அளிக்க, சொன்னியும் மணியன கணிரங்கொலிக்க, சொன்னியும் மணியன கணிரங்கொலிக்க, பூப்புகழ் இசை உள்ளம் கணிக்க, பூப்புகழ் இசை உள்ளம் கணிக்க, உண்மை ஞானமும் செல்வமும் ஒழிக்க, உண்மை ஞானமும் செல்வமும் ஒழிக்க, கணபதியே வருவாய், ஆனந்த ஆறுதல்